Azula almost had a redemption arc in Avatar: The Last Airbender. Let's discuss why that would have been great and really fitting. Recently, head writer of Avatar: The Last Airbender, Aaron Ehasz, said that a season 4 of Avatar: The Last Airbender were in the works, but they were derailed due to The Last Airbender movie by M. Night Shyamalan coming along and taking some of the attention from the creators. And within that season 4 would have explored Azula and her redemption arc. While my thoughts on the season 4 of Avatar: The Last Airbender is mixed. I mean, they ended the series so perfectly, one of the best series finales I've seen, and also I don't think they have much more story to tell. But I still think an Azula redemption arc would have been great to see. I think her redemption arc would have definitely worked, and it all comes down to a simple question of what drives Azula. Simply put, it's perfection. We see that from her first introduction to the end of the series, that she just wants to be perfect. Everything needs to go her way. Everything is calculated. But I theorize it goes a little deeper than that. I think that need for perfection stems from watching Zuko's relationship with her father and just how awful Zuko was treated for being imperfect. Because of their dynamic, it is often easy to forget that Zuko is the older brother and Azula is the little sister. It is widely known that the oldest sibling in a family usually receives the harsher punishment. It's to really set an example. And I think I've seen that in my own family. My dad always says that once you get that first one in line, then the rest of them kind of follow because that person is the example. According to a Duke University study, the more severe discipline for older children deters younger siblings from engaging in the activities for which they know their older siblings were penalized for. Zuko set the example for Azula for what not to do. And this was easy for her. She was already far more talented than Zuko when it comes to firebending. Where Zuko showed compassion, she countered that with aggression. Where Zuko held close to their mother, she mirrored their father. The sad part about all this is that Ozai treated Zuko this way not because of anything that Zuko did. He treated Zuko horribly to spite Ursa for trying to trick him just for a second into thinking that Zuko wasn't his son. So it might have didn't necessarily matter what Zuko did. He was going to treat Zuko horribly either way. So being the exact opposite of Zuko, being perfect, was working out for her and her benefit. I mean, she watched the perfect Zuko go out through his life, being shunned by his father, being burned by his father, and being cast out and banished by his father. Everything was going her way. She had power, she had respect, she had the admiration of her father. She also had friends that would do her bidding for her. But that all changed when Mai chose Zuko over Azula.
Why would you do it? You know the consequences.
You miscalculated. I love Zuko more than I fear you.
No, you miscalculated! You should have feared me more!
That one little betrayal started her descent into madness. I mean, in her eyes, how dare someone choose Zuko, imperfect Zuko, over Azula? She's perfect. And I mean, that's just not the nature of their relationship. She's always better than him. So she started acting out more violently. She started to acquire a desire to kill Zuko. And that's much different than before. Before, Azula was very calm, calculated. Everything made sense. Everything worked in a certain fashion for a reason. But now she seemed more passionate about killing Zuko. Azula's self-worth being tied to Zuko's imperfection is epitomized in the scene in the Phoenix King episode, where Fire Lord Ozai declares himself Phoenix King and that he will leave Azula in the Fire Nation and he alone will go and destroy the Earth Kingdom. She says, "You can't treat me like this. You can't treat me like Zuko." Specifically, Zuko. You can't treat me like I'm imperfect. But she misunderstood him. Instead of the world crashing down on her, the Fire Lord makes her the new Fire Lord of the Fire Nation. So with this revelation, all is as it should be in Azula's eyes. She's stuck by her father's side and she was rewarded for it. But that life would come crashing down on her during her Agni Kai with her brother Zuko. During their fight, Zuko clearly has the upper hand here, and there's a moment where you can just see the sheer puzzled look on her face, and she is infuriated at this. She sees her perfect life slipping away at the hands of her imperfect brother. So she acts out. She disregards the rules and she becomes imperfect even more. After her defeat at the hands of Zuko and Katara, she descends into full-on madness because her whole life was a lie now, and that was just too hard to grasp. Now let's go back to a potential season 4 that Aaron Ehasz speaks about. Aaron Ehasz said of Azula's arc that it would be longer and far more complicated than Zuko's. She had not bottomed in the end of season 3. She had further to go. At the deepest moment in her own abyss, she would have found Zuko. Despite it all, her brother Zuko would be there for her, believing in her, sticking by her, doing his best to understand and help her hold her pain that she could no longer hold alone. Zuko, patient, forgiving, and unconditionally loving, all strengths he gained from Uncle Iroh. I think Zuko would become that example again, but in the opposite way from before. See that everything is going great for Zuko. Zuko has friends, he has power, he's the Fire Lord, and he's done it all through being loving and compassionate. It makes sense that Zuko would be that guiding light for her. With Zuko, she saw that compassion and forgiveness were rewarded instead of angerness and aggression that she learned from the Fire Lord. But there's a really interesting question here of a big what-if situation. In the book The Search, when Ursa leaves her family and when she's banished, she goes to Azula's bedroom and she kisses her one final goodbye. She does the same for Zuko, but when she leaves, Zuko wakes up and she gives him one last words of love and advice. I wonder what those words would have been to Azula, and I wonder how they would have impacted her. That being said, I think the comics are doing an amazing job of really exploring Azula and her descent into further madness, and perhaps her coming out the other side. I actually think it's more fitting in the comics than in a season 4 of Avatar, because comics allow a very long-form storytelling to do this, when a season 4 of Avatar just would have been 20 episodes, and you don't really feel that huge growth there. It would have been a little bit more compacted, I think. Let me know your thoughts on Azula. I am eager to know. Please comment below. Please like and consider subscribing. Sincerely, thank you for watching. I'm out.